So what's more important, skills or representation?
Does it have to be either or, really?
Yes.
That really is being awkward. It is framed, the debate is framed like that, isn't it? You're always going to need skills on a governing body, aren't you? I mean, just having somebody there because they represent a group is pretty useless if they haven't got the skills to contribute. But how do you get those skills? Can you only get those skills by getting in people who've got the skills already, or can you actually deliver them to people who are there? And I've always been a supporter of the stakeholder model, though I don't think it's infallible, but it only works if the people on it are actually prepared to be trained to make sure that they've got the skills that are needed. But I do think that also applies if you adopt the skills model or the business model in an unthinking way, because just pitching in people because they happen to have important jobs in industry or they're running big charities or something doesn't mean that they're going to have the governance skills either. They may do, they may not. So they're still going to need some sort of training. And as we know, schools are very different from any other sort of institution. So there's a lot that you need to learn anyway. So I don't actually see it as a straightforward debate, one or the other, good or bad. Is that your view too?
Yes, by and large. I mean, I think my problem with the stakeholder model is that it's fine in theory, and I can sign up to it, and it's my instinctive response. Yes, we should have our community represented on the governing body. And then you meet some of the governors and you listen to what they're talking about. Now, of course, I'm not saying all governors, but we've all come across the parent who's obsessed with their own child and cannot see that governance is about all the children in the school. And that's where the stakeholder model, I think, starts to undermine itself, if you like. If those governors don't rise to the occasion and develop the skills that you were talking about, then I think it brings the whole thing into disrepute. And I think one of the other worries about it is, the role of the community governor, for example. Do those, as you've said to me before, do those governors really represent their community? Or is it simply a convenient way of creating a post for someone who was a parent governor who was pretty good and is willing to stay on? Let's call them a community governor, which actually is increasing the number of parent governors. And that happens a lot, I think.
And maybe is in fact a form of recruitment by skill in reality, because you may choose such a person because they've been a good governor, not because they've been a parent, but they've been a good governor and they've got expertise that you don't want to lose.
Yes, so that's valid, except that you don't necessarily get the proper community perspective to you. I mean, yes, those people are members of their community, but I think it would be better to have somebody who has perhaps a broader brief, if you like, or maybe represents a different kind of community group, something along those lines. Because I think the original justification for the community governor was that it was the opportunity to bring in somebody with other skills, wasn't it? Is that your understanding?
Well, initially they were called co-opted governors, which of course is what we're going back to under the new model, under the Education Act. So yes, and I think in certainly all the cases I've come across, that is why people have been co-opted. They haven't been put onto the governing body because they were the chairman of the parish council, or because they ran the scout group, or because they were big in the church. They're put on because people think they've got something useful to contribute. So it's never really worked quite the way it was intended, perhaps.
No, I think that's where the debate gets quite murky, because I think if we're all honest about it, neither model is perfect, is it?
No.
The stakeholder, you might sign up to the principles, but find it's pretty dysfunctional. Skills model, as you say, yes, it can be based on skills, but they might be the wrong skills. They might not be skills that are used appropriately, and you've lost the representation.
And there are certainly plenty of charities where the standard of trustees is not good. And I'd also argue there are plenty of companies. I think the idea that companies are automatically the model to follow. I mean, an awful lot of companies don't make it, and you can't then assume that company directors always know the right answers. So we agreed, really, there isn't a simple solution
Yes.
to that one.
Good. I do like agreeing with you.
Well, it's going to keep us talking anyway.
Yes, that's
One
true.
thing, isn't it?